All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to something a little different. I'm still just a little bit burnt out from D&D stuff after making 7 hour-long videos about D&D stuff in like 2 weeks. So I'm gonna take just one video break and talk about the other aspect of my former life, since I can't do it any more, and that is business. For those of you that don't know, I actually have a bachelor's degree in business marketing management, which is a combination degree between its combination of marketing and business management with an emphasis in project management. My career back when I could work was almost exclusively in retail, with a little bit of food service work for about a year. And I very quickly got into retail management and discovered I was really good at it. So, and I was in retail management for a little over half a decade. So, business is something that's just always fascinated me. The more I learned about it, the more intricacies I became familiar with, the more it was just really interesting to me. And something that I learned very quickly is the vast majority, like upwards of like 90 to 95% of people in the world have no idea how businesses work. And I'm not talking about things like how to do payroll or how to read a profit and loss sheet, or this is stuff like that actually takes training and expertise in order to do. I'm talking about basic features like what you can and can't ask an employee during an interview. Um, what kind of jobs you're allowed to have your employee do, how much to pay employees as far as overtime is concerned. Like, people have absolutely no idea how businesses will work. They have no idea that the amount of money the government takes out of your check before you even see it, the business doubles that amount. So they're actually paying as much. And in things like insurance, the business is paying the lion's share. Most people have no idea that businesses pay taxes on your wages in addition to any taxes they pay on their property, their income. Like, it's that to me, that's the most strange thing, is to hear people say, "Well, this company pays zero into taxes." No, they pay a crap ton into taxes. They just may not have paid taxes on their income, which is a completely separate issue, and I'm not going to get into the tax law and tax breaks and all that stuff. But the very basic principle that it costs money for a business to pay people is a completely foreign idea, because for your pay, it gets taken out of the money you earn. For a business, they have to pay you before they earn anything, or they have to pay the taxes on your paycheck before they earn anything. So yeah, so simple things like that, like people just completely don't understand, and then they'll just make assumptions about things, and we get really, really stupid arguments on the internet of people going, well, why can't they just do this? Well, because it's illegal, and it's illegal, but because it would threaten the livelihoods of the employees, not the employers. The vast majority of business law is designed to protect employees. So if you have a problem with a business law, you are probably either not understanding what it does, not understanding what it's designed for, or not understanding how businesses work. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is specifically the argument I've been seeing around the new California law that they passed, effectively for forcing Uber and the Lyft and other ride-sharing kind of things to treat their drivers as employees versus as independent contractors. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is no one I've seen talking about this has any idea what an independent contractor is. Again, they have this mistaken belief that business laws are written to help businesses exploit workers. And they're not. They never have been. Are there a few laws that were written vague enough that it gave businesses the ability to exploit people? Oh, hell yeah. But the laws are never written to help businesses hurt employees. The vast majority are written to prevent businesses from exploiting their employees. And the few laws that are written to benefit businesses are created to prevent the government from exploiting businesses. So laws are always written for the exploited, the protection of the exploited. Very, very, very rarely are laws ever written, at least in the business world, are ever written to protect the person in power. It just doesn't happen. Because again, they have the power. They don't need protection, and writing laws to protect people in power just doesn't make sense. So, what I'm talking about here is there's a recent law that California's passed that I haven't actually read, mostly because for this discussion, we don't actually need to read it, because the discussion happening is not about the law itself. It's about the idea of an independent contractor versus an employee. And that law has been, or the laws that govern the difference have existed for many, many, many decades. So, sorry, I just have something in my throat. So the very, very basics of what is an employee versus an independent contractor is the idea of who has control over the over the worker. In an employer-employee relationship, and I guess the real kind of defining moment is which side of the relationship is their only option to quit, or just to terminate the business contract in order to get what they want. In an employer-employee relationship, the employer is the one that is in control. And what I mean by this, that they get to tell the employee when they work, where they work, how they work, what they look like when they work, what methods they use, what they're allowed to charge, what they're allowed to say. An employer-employee contract gives absolute control over the work that the employee does to the employer. And the only amounts of negotiating power an employee has is they can choose to take the job or not. Once you have agreed to do the job, that's where your negotiating power is done. Now, some people may bring up things like, well, you can sue your employer and stuff like that. Yeah, if they violate labor laws, you do have legal ramifications for them telling you to do something illegal or forcing you to do something that violates labor laws. But even in that instance, like really good example, I found out one of my former employers was violating labor laws. I brought it to their attention. They tried to fire me and blackball me from the industry because I found out. I contacted a lawyer. I had kept receipts of everything. Like I had emails and all this stuff to show that, like, without a shadow of a doubt, like, I had absolute proof that they were retaliating against me for finding out that they were breaking the law, which is illegal. It's a violation of labor laws, violation of whistleblower laws specifically. Talked to the lawyer. The lawyer said, "Yeah." I gave him all the info I had. He said, "Yeah, this is literally." Concrete evidence. There's not a judge in the world where that would rule out of favor for you. So what we can do, pay my hourly rate, which I think was like $100, which for a lawyer is actually pretty cheap. He's like, pay me my 1 hourly rate. I'll write up a cease and desist. You can hand it to your employer. And if they can continue to do this, we can actually go to court over it. And I said, okay. Well, what happens if they just stop trying to fire me right now? He's like, well, then that's it. You're at $100 but you still have your job. Well, what's going to stop them from firing me in 6 months? Absolutely nothing. What a lot of people don't realize, if you sue a business and win, you better hope that whatever payout you get is enough to sustain you for a couple years, because no one will to touch you in the private sector for anywhere between about 2 to 5 years. No one will hire you unless they are absolutely 100% certain that you cannot sue them. There's nothing that large employers hate more than someone that understands their rights. Because every business has stupid people in it that will make stupid decisions. And normally those stupid decisions are taken care of out of a public site without ever involving the law. And it's resolved relatively quickly, because businesses don't want to get lawsuits and things like that filed against them, because it not only costs them lots of money, but it tarnishes their reputation. It inspires other people to do, like, it's just a bad idea for a business. So if you ever do think, hey, I'm going to sue this business, I'm going to make lots of money, make sure it's a shit ton of money, because you're going to be living off of it for years, unless you go into a completely different field. And in that point, the due diligence just doesn't happen. Going back to this, the employer has complete control over the employee, and the employee's only remedy about doing stuff they don't want to do, as opposed to illegal things. But if they don't want to do one aspect of the job, they can quit. That's it. That's all they can do is they can end the contract. There's no negotiations. There's no they just quit. On the independent contractors side, the power that or the only remedy is to terminate the contract is on the employer's side. Independent contractors choose when they work, how they work, what tools they do. In general, they'll choose their uniforms. They'll choose the techniques that they want. They will choose what kind of insurance and liability things they have. They will choose how many people will work at any given time. They will choose where those people work. They will choose how those people get there. Independent contractors have all the control, and the only thing a business can do if something starts going wrong, something's taking too long, or they don't like how they're doing certain things, is they can terminate the contract. And once a contract is signed, it's remarkably difficult to terminate it without incurring some sort of cost. So at the very basics, the difference between an employee and an independent contractor is who gets to decide what you do. Now, what it has been warped into is employees are safe. They're protected by all these labor laws. They get free health care. They get paid time off. They get all these amazing things. But independent contractors, they're exploited. They get nothing. They get no paid time off. They get no insurance. They are exploited. They're forced to work into the wee hours of the morning, and their business overlords stand over them with whips and beat them merciless. It's not true. It's never been true. Labor laws were specifically designed to create these two classes of employees, two classes of workers, to protect the workers. Declaring someone an independent contractor is not a way for businesses to exploit them. Now, where this kind of has the slightest hint of truth is to taxes. Excuse me. I have just got something in the back of my throat, and it's driving me nuts. Much better. So, the difference is to taxes and benefits. In most states, and this is state law, so it's different in every single state. There are no federal laws about this particular issue, but in most states, full-time employees, which, depending on the state, is someone that works anywhere from at least to 28 to 32 hours in a single work week. Businesses are required to give benefits to full-time employees, and benefits include the things like paid time off, options to purchase health insurance through the company plan, and other smaller things. Some companies will offer stock options or bonus incentives. This is stuff like that. In order to have that, you have to be a full-time employee, and like I said, every single state is a little bit different in what they require. Things like Obamacare only applies to full-time, or the vast majority of it only applies to full-time employees. So all the healthcare and all that stuff that businesses were forced to do only apply to full-time employees. The other thing that businesses have to do with any employees, this is full or part-time, is they have to pay payroll tax on them. Payroll tax is paid both to the federal government and the state government, and there's a few different things that they actually pay. You have Social Security, Medicare, that's taken out of there. You have unemployment insurance that's taken out. And then you have things like state payroll tax, which is again different in every state and stuff like that. The big ones most people notice are the Social Security and Medicare taxes, because they are the largest chunk of your paycheck. And when everything's said and done, you can expect to pay anywhere from about, depending on how much you make, anywhere from about 13 to a little over to 20% of your paycheck will go to taxes before you even see it. Businesses pay that much and a little bit extra. The other thing, businesses will pay part of your premium for health insurance for full-time employees. And by part, I mean a much larger part. Like if you, like I used to pay, I think $50 a month. I think my employer paid somewhere between 150 and to 200 for my health insurance. I may be getting those numbers wrong because it's been a very long time since I looked into it. But they pay more than you do. Mostly because they make more money than you do, so they can afford to. But hiring an employee, giving them benefits and things like that is expensive. So on the independent contractor side, they're not required to give benefits. They don't pay any taxes on your payroll, and that's done for a lot of people think that, well, it's done so that businesses can exploit them. No, it's done because a lot of independent contractors are either what's called self-employed, meaning they effectively are their own company, or and this actually happens a lot, they're actually paid by another company that will actually pay parts of their taxes and stuff like that. So they're technically an employee of another company, but when they're working for this one, they're an independent contractor, so that no one's paying double the amount of taxes on your check. Now, a lot of companies that employ independent contractors employ them as independent contractors as well. So it really is a very complicated thing. But the thing with being an independent contractor is all the stuff that the business normally pays, you now have to pay. And they do it through what's called a self-employment tax. It means independent contractors get a much larger chunk of taxes taken out of their paycheck. Effectively, you double the amount of taxes you're paying because the business is not, your employer is no longer paying that other half. So that's where people get this idea that businesses are legally claiming people are independent contractors to avoid paying taxes, which isn't true. Now, there is, again, this tiny kernel of truth where there are some businesses who will illegally declare their employees independent contractors to avoid paying taxes, and it ends very, very poorly for them. I know this because I, years and years ago, one of my first jobs in sales, I was declared an independent contractor, wasn't, and I'll get into the things that kind of define the difference as far as labor practices in a second. And I contacted the Department of Workforce Development. They had received multiple complaints. The basic way it works is when you contact the DWD, they log it as a complaint, and once they get and they'll look into it and stuff like that, and depending on what you tell them, they may launch an investigation immediately. Generally, what it is once they get the 3 complaints, no matter if the complaints are good or bad. Like it could be someone coming up and going, well, my employer calls me Mary every day and says that I can only get paid if I respond to the name Mary. Well, that's not a violation of labor law. Whatever. Once they get the three, once they get three complaints, they do a formal investigation, which is extremely costly for the business because they have to, hire business law and labor law lawyers, and it ends very poorly for businesses. The one that did it to me doesn't exist anymore. They went bankrupt shortly after getting investigated. Because they were very, very naughty. So yes, but while there are some companies that will try to get away with that, it is incredibly hard to get away with that, and it never lasts. And one of the things they to teach you in business school is never ever 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 do that, because what happens is if you're found to be declaring employees independent contractors. Another thing that you generally don't have to do with independent contractors. Is you don't have to worry about overtime. You're not on you don't have to this is so hard. You can't be punished for not paying them overtime because technically you're not paying them as much as you're agreeing to what they're charging you for. So if they're not charging you for overtime hours, or they're working overtime hours and they didn't bill you for it, you're completely off the hook. So what happens is if they find out you declared an independent or an employee an independent contractor, you're forced to pay back taxes going anywhere between 2 to 3 years back. Generally on all your employees. They will investigate the entire business. So you'll have to pay back taxes and back wages for anywhere between 2 to 3 years. 2 years if they found out you did it by accident, because that does happen because people don't understand. 3 years if they find out you did it intentionally, which happens a lot. You also will get... penalties and fines for it. You are required to pay all back over to time hours. And it's an incredibly expensive thing. It ends companies. So while it does happen, it's a remarkably rare thing because it's super easy to prove. Generally, they just have to look at your employee handbook. Or look at something as simple as your schedule for your employees, and it's super easy to prove your employee versus an independent contractor at that point. So it's just a dumb thing to do. Now, in the rideshare industry, everyone is accusing like Lyft and Uber of exploiting these workers by calling them independent contractors so they don't have to pay benefits or taxes or anything. No. The reason they're independent contractors is because Uber and Lyft don't tell them how to do their job. Let me give you an example of an independent contractor versus an employee as far as ride sharing. An independent contractor gets to choose when they start work, when they stop work, when their breaks are, what they wear, the state of their car, any amenities in their car, how they treat their customers, how they deal with bad feedback, whether or not they ever give incentives for people to ride with them, whether that's sales or discounts or free things as ways to deal with bad experiences and customer complaints and things like that. The independent contractor gets to decide all of that. In an employer relationship, the driver will be forced to work a very specific schedule. They will be told when they can and cannot take breaks. If they take a break when they're not supposed to, they can be fined or fired. If they start their shift late, they can be fined or fired. If they end their shift early, they can be fined or fired. If they decide they wanted to take the day off, they can be fined or fired. They can hold your paycheck hostage to ensure you do what they want you to do. They can force you to wear a uniform. They can force you to put signage and other things on your car to designate it as an Uber or a Lyft car, some of which can actually scratch and damage your car. I know this because I delivered pizzas, and the toppers they force us to use would constantly scratch cars and things like that, lower the value of their car. They can force you to purchase snacks and things like that for your passengers to have. They can force you to purchase your own uniform. They can force you to always dress a certain way. They can force you to send them a picture every morning to ensure you're in the correct uniform. They can force you to give free rides to customers that complain. Because they control everything. And the only choice you have is whether or not you continue working for them. And if you quit, they can choose to withhold your final paycheck to deal with anything else they decide that they need to fine you for. If they just decide that you lost by not showing up to work the day that you quit and not finding another driver to take your place, they can decide that you owe them money for the lost revenue. They'll just take that out of your last paycheck. They have absolute control. They can even choose to only allow you to drive company cars. Like the amount of control they have is unbelievable. Yes, they might be forced to pay you benefits if you work for full-time hours. If you don't, which is extremely common. I've worked for businesses where the only full-time employees were the manager and the assistant manager, and literally everyone else that worked part-time, generally less than 15 hours a week. And it was really simple to do that because you just hire double to triple the amount of staff you need to run the store. And just give only one or two shifts to every person. Does it save you a little money on paychecks? Yes, they will start paying all those payroll taxes I talked about before. But again, you're going to be losing money because there's a good chance they will reduce your hours. They will forbid you for working overtime. Fun fact, a lot of people don't realize if you work overtime and your boss told you not to, they're required to pay you overtime, which depending on the state is anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times your normal hourly rates. And even if you don't make an hourly pay, like your paid commission, what they actually do when it's investigated is they will actually look at a month or to 2 months of work, look at how much money you made, divide it by how many hours you worked, and then they'll go, okay, this is your hourly rate. Anytime for overtime, they have to pay you this much more. So you don't get out of getting over to time pay just because you are a commission based or a tipped employee or anything like that. So anyway, if you work over to time, they're required to pay you that overtime, and then they can fire you for working overtime. And it's completely legal because overtime is an extremely high cost for most businesses, and most businesses will have written into their employment contracts. You are not allowed to work unapproved overtime. Because it's just a bad idea from a business perspective to have employees that you work so hard that you have to pay them overtime. It's much better to just hire an additional employee and split the workload. Because even if that second employee makes more than the first for whatever reason, it's still going to be cheaper than overtime. So this idea that this law in California is somehow going to benefit these drivers is hogwash. What it is doing, quite literally, is giving more power and authority to big, massive companies. The exact thing they keep trying to prevent, they're giving all... Thank you, phone. Even my phone agrees. They're giving all the power to the employers. It's going... We've already seen with other things, like I can't remember the name of the bill, but the bill that basically said any journalism sites have to bring independent writers on staff if they write more than like 5 articles a week or something like that. I can't remember the specifics. It actually destroyed the journalism field in California because journalism in general is kind of built, and just writing in general for websites and stuff like that is built on this gig economy style thing, where you will write for 3 or 4 different sites, and you get paid by the word, and like it absolutely destroyed. The only people that this actually helps are union leaders, and the reason why is, again, I told you before, if you're an employee, the only power you have is to say I will work or I won't work. Unions increase that power to say, hey, if I don't work, nobody works. You still only have the power to say I will work or I won't work. But now when you say I won't work, so does the rest of your staff. So it increases the power of that I will or I won't, but it doesn't actually change the power dynamic. As much as it does, it just makes the power dynamic a little bit more impactful by you saying I won't work. And that's who's pushing for these laws, because what they want is they want everyone to be in a union, because that means the union bosses and managers and the things like that for the union, first of all, have more power, and in relation to that, they can charge more in dues. But back in college, I actually had to do a paper that I chose to do on right to work laws, which are basically in a non-right to work state, as long as a employees can get 51% of the employees to join a union, everyone that works that job at that business is required to join the union. You don't have a choice. They will automatically deduct dues from your paycheck before you even get it. There's no way to opt out. You are a union member if you work for that business. In a right to work state, they can't do that. Like, that's the only big difference in right to work versus non right to work. Is right to work states don't allow what are called union shops. You can join, you can get hired for a company, and if you don't think the union has your best interest in mind, you don't have to join it. You don't have to get a they don't get part of your paycheck. You don't have to strike when they tell you to strike. Like, the union has no control over you. We can get into a discussion of right to work versus non-right to work in a different video. Surprisingly enough, it's a very complicated issue. Mostly due to the idea of unions aren't allowed to just negotiate for their union members and screw everyone else. They have to technically negotiate for everyone working that job. But again, it's really complicated, and it's a really interesting subject. But so the reason unions want keep passing these laws that are killing the gig economy is because the gig economy doesn't need a union. They have all the power in the relationship, and the business can only say, all right, I agree to your terms, or I don't. And once they've agreed, they're kind of screwed. They've already agreed to pay you. They can't refuse to pay you. They can't withhold your paycheck unless somewhere in the business contract you wrote in, by the way, I will let you hold some of my paycheck if I did do this, which no one ever does. It'd be really stupid. So unions want to take control away from the workers and give it to them. Because another interesting thing about unions, in non-right to work states, they charge 60% higher dues. For the exact same jobs and levels of representations, you pay 60% more. And where does that money go to? Because you're already dealing with the fact that normally in a right to work state you wouldn't be paying dues at all. In a non-right to work state, not only are you paying dues you didn't have to beforehand, which is a large chunk of your tech, your dues are significantly higher. And all of that money goes to, or the vast majority of it, goes to the salaries of the union bosses. Basically, union leadership makes somewhere around 40% higher salaries in non-right to work states than they do in right to work states. Despite the fact that in right to work states, they actually have a harder job, because not only do they need to actually run the union and protect the workers, quote unquote, they also have to market the union to convince people to join it. So yeah, the reason this rideshare law is getting written in California has nothing to do about protecting workers, and everything to do about ensuring that your unions have all the power and all the money. Every time someone else figures out a way to work and gain, worker figures out a way to have the power in a business relationships, unions lose power. They are entirely predicated on the idea that you cannot fight your employer. You need me to fight your employer for you, and the only way we can do that is if everybody does what I tell them to do. And that's why they've been fighting tooth and nail in California to get rid of the gig economy, because it's showing a lot of people that the benefits that unions offer are not nearly worth the price they charge. Most union leaders are vastly overpaid for what they do, and the majority of money that unions collect that doesn't go to the union leaders goes to lobbying for laws like this to be passed. So little of the money you are paying this union is actually going to helping you by getting you better benefits or increasing your pay or anything. It really doesn't. It's all a power grab by union leaders to force you into a union through a lot of manipulative tactics. Like in most industries, and I say most, there's still quite a few unions that I support. Things like SAG-AFTRA, IATSE, which SAG-AFTRA, you should know, it's the Actors Union. IATSE is Technical Theater Workers Union, which is everything from the tech staff on Broadway all the way up to the dudes that run the lights and sound for your favorite band at Summerfest or something like that. All those guys are IATSE members. I strongly support these unions because labor laws have not caught up to how that industry works. And I'm not sure if they're ever going to, because of just how weird and different working in the entertainment industry is. But for the most part, I tend to be anti-union. I was a part of a union, and all it did was make the employees not do their jobs, do the absolute minimum to get their paycheck, and if management ever did anything, like we had a member of the, it was a cashiers union, by the way, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Cashier came into work repeatedly late. The manager wrote them up for coming in late repeatedly. The union rep got them to throw out the write-up and basically told them, you are not allowed to write up our employees. And that's what it was. Like, because of the union rep and the fact that they could just threaten to have us all go on strike, they and if you didn't go on strike, they could fine you. They could do all these stuff. Like, you didn't have a choice. You had to go on strike. They got away with, employees coming whenever they wanted to. Like, it was just dumb. And again, cashiers don't need a union. It's one of the simplest jobs in the world. And I know this because I was a cashier for years. I used to train them. It's a massively simple job. And it's just exploiting a cashier is monumentally difficult because there's so little that they do. Not saying they aren't important. Cashiers, from a sales perspective, cashiers are your most important people on the sales floor because they are the last person a customer interacts with before they leave the business, and a bad interaction that they're there can ensure the customer never comes back. So I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying they don't need a union. Anyways, this is that's what this whole thing is about. This isn't about benefits. This isn't about these big evil companies exploiting their workers. It is literally unions trying to get more money. The gig economy is a fantastic thing for workers' rights. It takes a lot of the power away from businesses and gives it back to the workers. And it forces companies to revamp their hiring practices, their employment practices, their work practices, all that stuff. Because when people can be their own boss and negotiate their own contracts and still make a living, going in and being told when to be there, what to wear, how to talk to customers, being forced to apologize to Karens, but because that's what corporate tells you to do. You ever wonder why, all these retail people have all these Karen stories? It's because they work. If you call customer service in a big company, you will get free shit. Always. Because people that are super, super removed from what's happening in this as a store will always go, well, the customer is always right, which is rarely the case, by the way. They'll say the customer is always right. Give them this for free and a gift card. And if you think I'm jokey about that, no, I literally had someone come in, try to I think it was try to return something that they had stolen at a different store, but we couldn't technically prove it. Because I think all we had was like an eyewitness testimony from one of the employees. And they weren't able to basically follow her through the entire store, so technically she could have dumped it. But yeah, what ended up happening was she came to my sister's store. I denied the return. I was forced to do the return and give her like a $20 gift card. And we just called that the cost of doing business. People are going to exploit you, and we just had to accept it. This stuff goes into law, and all the Uber drivers become employees. You're going to be forced to give free rides to Karens. You're going to be forced to apologize to them, and you're going to be fined for customer complaints against you. You don't know how I know this? Because that's how it works in literally every other field. So no, these are not good laws. They are not protecting workers. They are helping big businesses have more power, and the biggest beneficiaries are unions. And specifically union leaders. None of the union members are going to get any benefit from this. And in fact, their dues might go up because the union will say, well, we have so many more people we're representing that we have this much more work. We need to take more out of your paycheck. So that's all for me today. If you guys would like to hear more business stuff, like I said, this is generally a D&D channel. It didn't start out that way, but it's what I like. It's what my audience seems to like. So if you do like these occasional business stuff, let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you like the video, please like, subscribe to the channel. For less stuff like this, more D&D stuff. But if enough comments are there, I might start doing a more regular business series. But anyway, that's all for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye bye.